How's it going, everyone? Just figured I'd show you a little project I've been working on. So, this is essentially virtual cards to be used in a card game, such as, well, this demonstration is War. It's a very simple game, actually. Basically, you just have two players. You could have more players, but I only have two right now. And you draw a card, and whoever has the higher rank wins, and they take both of the cards. But then you have the battle situation where if you have a tie, you have to lay down more cards and then draw again to see who wins. And sometimes that goes multiple times. So that's actually a rule of the game that I have not implemented yet, but I will get there. Let's start with this unit of code. This is the main kind of card management unit. This holds all the concept of the objects of cards themselves. So here I just have some, uh, yeah. So card rank, ace 2, 3, 4. Now I have settings further down for whether ace is high or not. So ace in this sense is considered a 1 naturally, but further down where I have things implemented, you have options to say whether ace is considered high or not. And then a set of that rank. I have sets. May not be necessary in many cases, but I have it here anyway, because why not? So suit, hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades, in order of actually their rank as well, because hearts is considered the lowest rank, spades is the highest. So although I think those need to be swapped actually, but anyway. Card color black and red. Those are used for rendering purposes. And deck end, I haven't figured out how to implement this fully. I may decide not to use that. Group type, this is also a concept which I'm not sure yet whether I want to use it. But you have card groups. There's a concept of groups of cards. And is that going to be a stack that is sitting on the playing table, or is it going to be a hand that you're holding in your hand? So that's what that separation is. Alright, so now we have an actual T card object. And I haven't gotten anywhere with documentation, but I am implementing it to a sense to where if you come across something, it doesn't want to work for some reason. But anyway, a single card, you have an owner, a card deck. Card deck is another object, well, actually a component, but we'll get there later. So a single card has that owner of a deck. Rank, suit, color, all of that is naturally populated based on what it is. And we have these functions which also return just kind of what is the string, so it'll actually tell you like 10 of hearts. But then we also have, well, yeah, you get the idea. Use, this is a new rough idea I temporarily added until I can figure out how to properly maintain ownership. This is just temporarily used like when I take a card out of the deck, because we're talking about a deck of cards. When I take that card out of the deck, I want to flag it and let it know that I am actually currently using that card. Currently, it's just a manual flag, where when I remove it from the deck, I just manually flag it, which is actually this variable here, f used. But ultimately, I don't like that idea, and I need to change it so that it just automatically knows whether it's being used or not, whether I took it out of the deck. So I have to implement some sort of tracking there. So now we have the actual deck. So a deck of cards is naturally consisting of the typical 52 or 54 cards, depending on whether you have the jokers. And it has several functions to manipulate it. So like shuffle, I also intend to implement like a cut deck. and you can just put a random number like 25 or 37 or 76, whatever, and it'll go like that way percentage wise through the deck and cut it for you. So anyway, yeah, so for example, property include jokers. Draw from, that's coming back to, I don't know whether I'm going to implement draw from the top or draw from bottom. I don't know if anybody needs that kind of concept. But anyway, now card deck group. This is where it comes to actually when you're to gameplay basically. So imagine solitaire. You have on the very top left, you actually have two decks. You have the from and the to, or I might implement that as one deck or one group rather, with an index to say where you're currently looking. But that's also going to be like at all the aces stacks or the suit stacks at the top right, and for the 7 columns along the actual bottom of the board of solitaire. So each of those would be a different group. So that's where this comes in. So you would take a card from a deck and you would put it in a group. And during the gameplay, a card object from here would go, it would basically move from one group to another. Or you might draw it out of your hand and then it goes to your hand. And then from there you have further place that you move that card. So I don't fully have that implemented yet, the concept of ownership of that card and where you can find that card. But further, I have that actually inherited down into card stack. So like a stack of cards or a hand, where you have a hand of cards. And we have just shuffle generic helpers, and then we have Joker red is going to be hearts and Joker black is going to be spades. I forget why I had to put that there, but anyway. Then we have some function headers here. We'll get to those later. We have card ranks, so this is just returning a string basically of what that rank is. And then we have the shortened version of all of those. And then we have the suit strings, so hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades. And here I actually had, those are Unicode characters right there. So they're just showing square because this editor doesn't support that right now. Well, not with the font I'm using. So the card colors, if it is hearts or diamonds, then it's reds. If it's clubs or spades, then it's black. Card color value, and I'm just telling it that is going to be either red or black. Now we have the actual card itself. Current group, that's where I was saying that I need to implement something so that you can automatically detect which group a card is currently present in, whether that be a stack or a hand or whatnot. These are just helpful functions to tell you what the color is supposed to be and all that jazz. Now we get down to the deck. This is where things get interesting. So get item, that's just part of the list of items. Add item, delete item, card rank index. Now this is kind of a way to tell it based on the ace high function that property that I mentioned earlier. So if aces are high, then of course an ace is going to rank higher than the other one. So this is just returning a integer number, which represents whether it's higher or lower. So if aces are low, then an ace would return 1. If aces are higher or high, then I think it returns a 13 or 14, or I forget what I put there. And then jokers are just going to be 15, just to be a higher number than everything else. Anyway, we have basic functions for everything. So reset deck. This is where I actually basically clear all the cards in a deck, and I just completely repopulate it from scratch. And this is a very important function. That's how I start off a deck in the first place. I know there's a lot of nested stuff in here. I know a lot of developers probably don't like to see this level of nested code, but I think for its purposes, it should be just fine. There's really not too many lines, to be honest. Shuffle. Okay, this is where, yeah, I can really shuffle the deck. Unused, so that's where that temporary used flag comes in. I can get a count of how many of these items are unused. And I can say next from deck, which actually automatically removes itself by saying used equals true. So yeah, next from deck, that actually draws something from the deck itself. And I plan to implement that in the stack concept, the stack groups. Speaking of which, so we have card deck groups. And again, that's just having a list of something. And these, I should actually move them to the top of the unit. Let's do that while I'm thinking. Wow, that's, I don't know why I was sitting right there so sloppily. Let's stick those right about there. Alright. Let's go back down now. Alright, more list functions. So a deck group, so you actually assign a deck that you're working with. And these I don't really have much implemented yet. Alright, moving on. So now we actually have a separate unit for the controls that I'm doing. So a card view, that is one of these objects here, which isn't, I don't have anything much implemented here visually and design time, but that is that control. So we have stack types, so is it going to be a just straight stack, or is it going to be spread from top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, so on and so forth. And then I have another control, which I haven't really implemented yet, of an actual stack view. So when you have, for example, in Solitaire, you have a column, those 7 columns of cards in Solitaire. You have to tell it, where the cards are within that stack, and even whether they're going to be showing or not. So, yeah. So paint card back, paint card face, and I plan on making it flexible to where the developer can custom paint their cards as desired. Paint card back, I just have something extremely generic right now. And just a bunch of painting stuff, which I don't know exactly how to do it yet, but anyway. Paint card face, so this is, yeah, where it actually paints the card itself. Let's go ahead and run it at this point so you can see how this game of war is playing out. So we have player 1, player 2, and we see it already made the first draw, and player 1 won. So it was split in half, 26-26, and player 1 won that round, so it immediately went to 27-25. Now if we hit draw again, 26-26, alright, so player 2 won that round, and if we just keep clicking on that, it just plays the game of war. Now, here's a perfect example. I do not yet have implemented the battle situation, and that's what will make this game actually work better. Is currently I'm just comparing the suits. So spades is actually the highest, so this round the player 2 won. But in reality, in the actual gameplay of war, you would have, drawing more cards, and then I think it's 1-2 flip or 1-2-3 flip, I forget, but either way, I have yet to implement that level. But if we keep going, and if I hold the enter key here, it'll just do it rapidly. Alright, pause for a moment. Oh, they're still kind of tied there. Now, things are technically randomized, but I have encountered a problem where over time it just kind of gets stuck at some sort of balance between them where they just go back and forth. And it seems I already hit that point quickly here. I've seen where like one has 10 and it keeps going back and forth between 10 and 11, 10, 11, 10, 11, but they just keep going back and forth between win and lose. And here, yeah, we're kind of stuck in a situation like that. I guess the cards need to be shuffled better. Anyway, that's the idea of the game and the code that I've been writing. So this is the actual unit for the war game, and this is the logic there. Now keep in mind the code over here and here is just very generic, very basic card deck logic that has no gameplay. This is where the gameplay actually comes in. So here I just have this panel at the top and a big button for draw, and then I have these card views down here and just score basically of how many cards each player has, and then whether or not either of them won. And then these objects represent the actual card stacks that basically the cards that a player has. And then this represents the deck that those cards came from. So if we come here to the code, this is, all the objects, so what's in the form, blah, blah, blah. And I just resize things as needed. There's form create, and then there's that button. I didn't give it a name, but the draw button. We have index, that's just keeping track. I forget exactly what I used that for. Display scores, deal cards, and draw. So form create, we shuffle the deck first, and we're setting the index to 0, and then we deal the cards. Oh yeah, the index is for when you deal the cards, that's right. And then after dealing the cards, we make the first draw automatically when the form creates. Alright, so deal cards, we have to split the deck between two players. So I just go back and forth between player 1, player 2, blah, blah, blah. And then I just initialize display scores. That just shows that each player has 26 cards initially. And that's where we display scores, and when you click that button it makes a draw, and then draw. Here I just have some local variables, and get next. Alright, so actually I think, anyway, so here's where we actually make the draw. We actually take the cards out of those stacks, and notice these parameters are true. That parameter is whether to remove it from the deck, actually delete it from the deck, or not the deck, from that group. So you take it out of your stack. Each player would take the next card out of their stack, and yeah. I think what can make it work is to shuffle their stacks more periodically, because in actual gameplay, you really do shuffle them as you collect your cards. So yeah, I should add some sort of shuffle in there to more randomize it, so it doesn't get stuck in those loops. So yeah, in the situation that player 1 wins and player 2 wins, which all of that actually has to end up going into a loop for the battle situation when you have a tie. So instead of dealing with this, I temporarily have this just checking the suit of the card. And then we have just whenever the form resizes, it just resizes things along with it. So things are centered. Alright, let's come back to that and let's just do another round of war. Man, it's really staying balanced. Man, at a tie again. Huh. So yeah, I got to work on this logic, the gameplay logic especially. I figure war is a very easy game because there's almost no logic to it. It's just either you win or you win, based on just, well, randomly picking the next card. But anyway, uh, that is that. And I will talk to you all later.